Jackie Robinson hit that ball. It went zooming across the left field wall. Yeah, boy.
Yes, Jackie hit that ball.
Welcome back, Geek Nation. This is Geeky Pat with Geeky Pat Broadcasting and Red Dragons Radio, and you're listening to This Week with the Geek, coming to you live from Tucson, Arizona, out of the Red Dragons Radio studio. And I wanted to say that this show is not, as you could tell from the beginning music, going to be like any of my other shows. We're not talking about geek culture. No, we're talking about kind of what Geeky Pat has been going through, what my emotions have been through in this last months and so. I mean, the things that are going on with this nation right now. See, since May 25th, 2020, after watching that heartbreaking video of the death of George Floyd and watching his memorial services and the protests in our nation and all around the world, I struggle with how to deal with my emotions and to be honest, to express them. One of my dearest friends is an African American, and he has 3 beautiful children, and I love them a lot. And being a father, I wonder how he feels about his children in this world and their future during all this. See, I honestly can't relate. Being a white male, I've never really had to fear for my life when I get pulled over or stopped or approached by law enforcement. I have felt guilt about that. I feel guilt for never seeing what the Black Lives Matter movement really meant, for foolishly believing racism was mostly defeated in America. I truly love all people. I do, no matter what their race is, their sexual orientation, their creed, religion, background. I don't care. I truly do love all people. And I really never thought that the world I live in could have this much hate. But on May 25th, my worldview was suddenly smashed. And it became very clear on how naive I was and how naive my vision of this world was before. And I guess for that, I'm truly sorry. I'm truly sorry as a person that I had those naive ideas and I just wasn't seeing it. And then the next thing I wanted to do was address it or kind of speak about it, get it out. But then I came to this internal struggle over that. Should I even speak about it? Do I even have the right to? And see, days passed after this, and I listened to the news, and I worked my day job, and I'm stressing over the hope that this game I love called baseball might be able to be played this year, and it's so trivial to everything. And then I listened to Am I on the Air special this weekend with Sparrow, and it touched me. And then I kind of realized what I wanted to do, what I wanted to talk about. See, recently I read some books on baseball, and they were on Jackie Robinson. And this was, of course, before all this happened. It was before February, or right around beginning of February. And his story touched me, moved me in ways I can't even describe, and gave me hope, and pulled me out of this kind of depression I was in, and told me I could succeed in anything. See, I'm not even half the man Jackie was. And I want this show to be about Jackie. And my next show, I think, is going to be about Hank Aaron. Because they both are inspirational people who overcame more than I ever could. So I want to say right now from the bottom of my heart, thanks for listening. And I hope this story of Jackie Robinson inspires you and that we can honor him at a time like this. So let's get started, and again, thanks for listening. Jack Roosevelt Robinson was born in Cairo, Georgia in 1919 to a family of sharecroppers. Molly Robinson, Jackie's mother, single-handedly raised Jackie and her 4 other children. The only black family on their block, the prejudice and hate they encountered only strengthened their bond and brought them closer. From this humble beginning, would grow to be the first black athlete to play Major League Baseball after joining the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947. Major League Baseball was a segregated sport for more than 50 years. He attended John Muir High School in Pasadena, California, and Pasadena Junior College, where he was an excellent athlete and played 4 sports: football, basketball, track, and baseball. He was named the region's most valuable player in baseball in 1938. Jackie's older brother, Matthew, inspired him to pursue his talent and love for athletics. See, Matthew won the silver medal in the 200-meter dash just behind Jesse Owens. at the 1936 Olympics Games in Berlin. Jackie continued his education at UCLA, where he became the university's first student to win the varsity letters in 4 sports. In 1941, despite his athletic success, Jackie was forced to leave UCLA just shy of graduation due to financial hardships. Jackie then moved to Honolulu, there in Hawaii, where he played his first football for a semi-professional Honolulu Bears. His season with the Bears was cut short, though, when the United States entered into World War II. From 1942 to 1944, Jackie served as a second lieutenant in the United States Army. However, he never saw combat. During boot camp at Fort Hood, Texas, Jackie was arrested and court-martialed in 1944. Get this, for refusing to give up his seat and move to the back of the segregated bus. Jackie's excellent reputation, combined with the effort of his friends and the NAACP and various black newspapers, shed public light on this injustice. Ultimately, he was acquitted of the charges and received an honorable discharge. His courage and moral obligation to racial segregation were a precursor to the impact Jackie would have in Major League Baseball. After his discharge from the Army in 1944, Jackie began to play baseball professionally. At this time, the sport was segregated, and African Americans and whites played in separate leagues. Jackie began playing in the Negro Leagues, but he was soon chosen by Branch Rickey, president of the Brooklyn Dodgers, to help integrate Major League Baseball. He joined the all-white Montreal Royals and a farm team from the Brooklyn Dodgers. In 1946, Jackie was later moved to Florida to begin spring training with the Royals. Rickey knew there would be difficult times ahead for the young athlete, and so made Jackie promise not to fight back when he confronted the racism. Rickey also personally tested Jackie's reaction to racial slurs, insults he knew the player would endure during his time playing. According to the publication American History, published in June 2013, and I will read from it here for you. However, I will edit out certain racial remarks because I don't feel right saying them. But the conversation went like this, according to the American History publication. It read, "You got a girl?" asked the old white man. "I think so," said the young black man. "What do you mean, I think so?" The young black man said he had a girlfriend and they discussed marriage, but he didn't know how long she'd wait for him. "Do you love her?" "I love her very much." "When we get through this today, you might want to call her up," said the white man, "because there are times when a man needs a woman by his side." The two men were sitting in an office at 215 Montague Street in Brooklyn on a sweltering morning on August 28, 1945. It was 2 weeks after the end of World War II, and fish tank gurgled in the corner. An odd pair of portraits hung on the wall, Abraham Lincoln and Leo Durocher, the 16th President of the United States and current manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, the great emancipator, and the lip. "Do you know why we brought you here?" asked the white man, who was Branch Rickey, 65 years of age, the president of the Brooklyn Dodgers. "I know that you're starting a team called the Brooklyn Brown Dodgers," said the black man, who was Jackie Roosevelt Robinson, 26 years of age, and was the shortstop for the Kansas City Monarchs in the Negro League baseball team. "No," said Rickey, sitting behind his desk, puffing a cigar. "The Brown Dodgers story was a ruse. I've sent for you because I'm interested in you as a candidate for the Brooklyn National League Club. I think you can play in the major leagues. How do you feel about it?" Robinson was stunned. He never expected to live long enough to see the integration of baseball, and now this man was offering to make him the first black player in the major leagues. "I was thrilled, scared, and excited." He later wrote, "Most of all, I was speechless." Rickey, a man who was seldom speechless, kept talking, of course. He said first, Robinson would have to prove himself with the Dodgers farm team, the Montreal Royals. "You think you can play for the Montreal?" "Yes," said Robinson, who recovered his power of speech. A theatrical man found a dramatic gestures. Ricky abruptly swiveled his chair in Robinson's direction and pointed his stubby finger at him. I know you're a good ball player, he said. What I don't know is whether you have the guts. Robinson felt his face flush with anger. The man is questioning my courage, he thought. Ricky leaned forward and looked him in the eye. I've investigated you thoroughly, Robinson. He did seem to know all about the shortstop. He knew that Robinson was an excellent hitter, fielder, bunter, and base stealer from the Monarchs, and that he'd been on football, basketball, and the track star team at the UCLA. He also knew that Robinson had been a lieutenant in the U.S. Army, and that he had been arrested for refusing to move to the back of the bus in Texas town near Fort Hood. Ricky thought that the incident showed Robinson's spirit, but did it show also a hot temper? We can't fight our way through this, Robinson, he said. We got no army. There's virtually nobody on our side. No owners, no umpires, very few newspapermen. Many fans will be hostile. We can only win if we convince the world that I'm doing this because you're a great ball player and a fine gentleman. Robinson realized that Ricky was serious, that he sincerely believed baseball should be integrated, and that he pondered the problem of how to do it. If you're a good enough man, we can make a start in the right direction, Ricky said. But let me tell you, it's going to take an awful lot of courage. Now he's questioning my courage again, Robinson thought. Have you got the guts to play the game no matter what happens? Ricky asked. I think I can play the game, Mr. Ricky, Robinson said, a little peeved by the question. Ricky stood up, took off his suit jacket, and began to pace in front of Robinson's chair. They'll throw beanballs at you, he said. They'll call you dirty names. They'll taunt you and attack you. Can you take all that without losing your temper? Mr. Ricky, Robinson asked, are you looking for a Negro who's afraid to fight back? Robinson, I'm looking for a ball player with the guts enough not to fight back, Ricky said. You've got to win this thing with hitting and throwing and fielding ground balls, nothing else. Ricky began acting out the insults he knew Robinson would face. He was a desk clerk at a hotel. We don't let the N-word sleep here. He was a waiter in a restaurant. Didn't you see the sign at the door saying no animals allowed? He was the base runner barreling into Robinson, deliberately spiking him. How do you like that, N-word boy? At one point, Ricky threw a punch towards Robinson's face, missing by inches. Robinson didn't move, but Clyde Suckerforth, the Dodger scout who witnessed this meeting, recalled that the look on Robinson's face was furious. His eyes had a lot of sparks in them. I can tell you that, he said. When Ricky finished his performance, his shirt was soaked with sweat. I need someone. Jackie, who can carry that load, he said. Above all, you cannot fight back. That's the only way this experiment will succeed, and others will follow in your footsteps. What Ricky was demanding from Robinson was the same strategy later adopted by Martin Luther King, nonviolent defiance of segregation. A devout Methodist, Ricky picked up a copy of the Life of Christ and read a passage to Robinson. I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. Robinson, another Methodist, agreed that he wouldn't fight back against the racist tormentors. And after that, he signed an historic contract with the Dodgers. Next spring, Robinson played for the Montreal Royals. The Royals won the International League pennant, and Robinson was voted the most valuable player. In 1947, he joined the Brooklyn Dodgers in a spring training, and several Dodgers signed a petition protesting the hiring of a Negro. Leo Durocher, the manager whose picture hanged in Ricky's office, called his white players to a meeting. He said, listen, I don't care if it's a white guy, black, green, or has stripes like a zebra. Leo Bart, delivering his diatribe peppered with expletives. If I say he plays, he plays. He could put an awful lot of money in our pocket, so take your petition and shove it. As oratory goes, Durocher's speech was not as inspiring as the address delivered in the Gettysburg by the other man whose portrait graced Ricky's office, but it worked. The racist players dropped their protest. That season, Robinson faced every insult that Ricky predicted, and many more, but he ignored them and he kept playing. He won Rookie of the Year, the Dodgers won the pennant, the national pastime, and the nation changed forever. 10 months later, President Harry Truman signed an Executive Order 9981, desegregating the United States Armed Forces, and slowly across America, civil rights movements began to rise. Robinson succeeded in putting the prejudice of racial strife aside and showed everyone what a talented player he was. In his first year, he batted .297 with 12 home runs and helped the Dodgers win the National League pennant. That year, Robinson led the National League in stolen bases and was selected as Rookie of the Year. He continued to wow fans and critics alike with impressive feats such as outstanding .342 batting average in his 1949 season. He led in stolen bases that year and earned the National League's Most Valuable Player award. Robinson soon became the hero of the sport, even among former critics. He was the subject of a popular song, "Did You See Jackie Robinson Hit That Ball?" which is what I led the bumper music into the show. It'll be the bumper music out. His success in the major leagues opened the door for other African American players such as Satchel Paige, Willie Mays, and Hank Aaron, and all of them were awesome baseball players. An exceptional base runner, Robinson stole 19 times in his career, setting a league record in 1955. He helped the Dodgers win the World Series. Before he retired, he became the highest paid athlete in Dodgers history. Over the course of his career in Major League Baseball from 1947 to 1956, Robinson achieved the following stats: a 311 batting average, 137 home runs, 4,877 times at bat, 1,518 hits, 734 runs batted in, 197 stolen bases, 409 on-base percentage, and an 883 on-base plus slugging. In December of 1956, Robinson was traded to the New York Giants, but he actually never played for that team. He retired on January 5th of 1957. And after baseball, Robinson became an active in business and continued his work in activist for social change. Never stopped. He worked as an executive for Chock Full of Nuts Coffee Company, which is great coffee, and a restaurant chain, and helped establish the African American owned Freedom Bank. In 1962, Robinson was the first American to be inducted into the first African American to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. In honor of his legacy, in 1972, the Dodgers retired his jersey number of 42, so no one will ever wear that number again. Robinson was a vocal champion of African American athletes, civil rights, and other social and political causes, serving on the board of the NAACP until 1967. In July 1949, he testified about the discrimination before the House Un-American Activities Committee. In 1952, he publicly called out the New York Yankees as a racist organization for not having broken the color barrier 5 years after he began playing with the Dodgers. In his later years, Robinson continued to lobby for greater racial integration into sports, not just baseball. Jackie Robinson died from heart problems and diabetes complications on October 24th, 1972, in Stamford, Connecticut. He was 53 years old. After Robinson's death in 1972, his wife Rachel established the Jackie Robinson Foundation, dedicated to honoring his life and work. The foundation helps young people in need by providing scholarships and mentoring programs. Jackie Robinson was a great baseball player, great icon, and great representation of what a good man should be. He left a mark on America. He made a believer out of all Americans of all colors that we should treat one another equally. Jackie's courage and strength inspires me to be a better man, a better person. He showed us that we can change the world without violence or striking back, but that sometimes speaking out and being heard can be a more powerful way to reach others. I'm going to say this. I am truly thankful for the example that he will always be. And he'll always be an inspiration to me. I hope he's an inspiration to you. I hope he's an inspiration to all that listen, of all nationalities, of all colors. You may not like baseball, but this man changed more than just baseball. Because of him, there's athletes of all colors and all sports. I wish I could say that Jackie Robinson was able to overcome all racism in America and that we didn't have any more, but George Floyd showed us otherwise. Things are changing. They're different than they ever have been. It's not just in America. It's all over the world people are protesting. George Floyd's death, like Jackie Robinson's, has changed many people. And he changed this one person, too. We can all get along. And we can all love one another. So, as Jackie Robinson has inspired me, and George Floyd has inspired me, I hope they've inspired you. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Did you see Jackie Robinson hit that ball? It went zooming across the left field wall. Yeah, boy.
Yes, Jackie hit that ball.
And when he swung his bat, the crowd went wild because he knocked that ball a solid mile. Yeah, boy.
Yes, Jackie hit that ball. Satchel Paige is mellow, so is Campanella. Newcomb and Dobie too. But it's a natural fact, when Jackie comes to bat, the other team is through.
Did you see Jackie Robinson hit that ball? Did he hit it? Yes, and that ain't all. He's so home.
Yes, Jackie's real gone.
Hit that ball, did he hit it? Yes, and that ain't all. He's going home.
Yes, Jackie's real gone. 'Cause Jackie is a real